Well, you can see the frown on Jay Powell's face as the good news doesn't necessarily continue. CPI on a month-over-month basis up 0.3% year over year. That puts us at 3.1%. That's down from 3.4, but it's not the 2.9% that a lot of people had hoped for. The core rate comes in at a 0.4 rise, much higher than the 0.3 anticipated. That's a fairly strong core report. Leaves core inflation at 3.9% after 3.9% the month before. No progress there. Basically, we see some of the usual suspects here. One of the biggest reasons that we saw CPI come in stronger than anticipated was housing. Housing costs, shelter costs up 0.6% after 0.4 the prior 2 months. And the same thing is true of owner's equivalent rent. So home prices still pushing up, rent prices still pushing up the CPI. Gasoline prices, as you'd expected, went down 0.9. So that's the good news. But food prices were double what they were the month before, up 0.4 after 0.2. So food is something that consumers will notice. And of course, housing is propping up the CPI rate higher than the Fed wants to see. Many other things are down some. Apparel is up only 0.1%, while used cars and trucks were down 0.7. So we are seeing some progress being made. Used cars and trucks, I'm sorry, down 3.4%, 0.7 decline for apparel. So we are seeing some progress in the areas that had given us problems in the past, but the big ones are still contributing to CPI.
If you just take a look at the market's response, people are ratcheting back expectations for a March rate cut, not surprisingly, now 17% chance being baked in. Mike, do you think that this is as bad for the Fed as it may seem in terms of moving in the opposite direction, or do you think that there are enough signs underneath the hood of some sort of broadening out that it gives them comfort to continue with some of the same rhetoric that we've heard from them?
I think you'll see the same rhetoric. It's not what was wanted or expected, but it isn't a reversal. We do see the inflation rates on a year-over-year basis for CPI going down. And remember that housing is a 1/3 weight in the CPI, where it is much smaller in the PCE, which the Fed follows. So I think they'll see this as progress, may be a little frustrating, but they weren't going to move in March anyway. And they'll get 3 more PCE reports before they get to the May meeting. So there's still plenty of time for this to turn around. What everybody's wondering is, when do house prices and rent prices start to go down, or do they?